Today I'm going to show you how to change a battery inside of a car. Right here I have a battery and I'm going to be swapping out the old battery, which is dead, with this new battery. This happens to be a Superstart Platinum AGM battery inside of my car. I'm going to show you which tools you're going to need. I'm going to show you how to put it in and which terminal to connect and disconnect first and last. But before I get started, if you can give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you find this video helpful. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, the first thing that you're going to need to do is open the hood. So I'm inside of the vehicle right now, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to reach underneath the vehicle, and I'm going to pop the hood. Now, the latch is usually right on the left-hand side. That didn't sound right. It is usually on the left-hand side. On the driver's side, I'm in this American car right here, looking to the left side, so I'm looking down. You see where the pedals are? I'm going to come over here, and there should be some sort of latch right here that you pull. You see that? I pulled the latch, I heard a little click, and what I'm going to have to do now is I'm going to have to go outside to the front of the vehicle, and I'm going to open up the hood. All right, so I'm going to open up the hood, come up here. There is a safety latch. You're going to have to put your fingers in here. You see that? I'm going to push it to the side, just like that, and lift up. And I'll show you what I did in a second. So once I lift it up, I'm going to find the kickstand. So I put the kickstand into place right here. And then this is the latch that I'm talking about. I push that to the side and lift it up. You know, your vehicle may be a little bit different. Some of them you pull up like that. Some of them you go to the right. You'll figure it out. All right, so here is the old battery right here that I'm going to be replacing, okay? So this is the battery that I'm going to be replacing. Now, in your vehicle, it may be in a different location, but for this particular vehicle, it is on the right-hand side up in the front right here. Your battery could be in the middle, or not in the middle, up top right here, or perhaps way in the back. But check your owner's manual so you know what it is. And important to note, before you get started with this, make sure your engine is off when you're changing your battery, all right? So the next thing you're gonna have to do is you're gonna have to select the correct tools. So I have my tools right here, okay? I have a socket. I'm gonna use a socket wrench, and you're usually going to be using a 10 millimeter, okay? So this is a 10 millimeter socket right here that I'm gonna be using. Now, if you don't have this, I have somehow been able to use a 1/2 inch for to fit it onto the thing, to the nut, in order to get it off. But usually use a 10 millimeter. This is what I have right here, socket wrench. You see it says 10 millimeter. But I have done vehicles and been able to, oh, this is 10 millimeter too. What am I talking about? It's just sitting over there in a half thing. So I have this right here. And so what I'm going to do is, that is actually a 10 millimeter too. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and set this up. But before I set this up, I'm going to go ahead and remove these caps off of the what do you call it? The battery terminals. Okay, so this is the negative right here. No, excuse me. So this is the battery that I'm going to be replacing. I'm going to show you what to do to prep this in order to pull this out. Okay, you see right here, that is the negative terminal, that is the positive terminal. I also have tools, and what I'm going to be using is a 10 millimeter socket. Okay, I'm going to be using a socket wrench, 10 millimeter socket wrench right here. This is also a 10 millimeter right here. So I'm going to be using this wrench right here in order to get it off. And here is the battery over here. Do you see this? This is the battery. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take off these caps, these protective caps right here. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and remove these. Remove this sponge-like thing right here. Going to go ahead and take those off, okay? And you can discard of this properly right here. So I'm going to put that to the side. And then, remember, the batteries are really heavy, so be careful when picking it up. So I'm going to go ahead and put it like this. Tuck that down in here for a second so you can read all of this. These are warnings on here. Make sure you understand all of this. All right, so here is the positive terminal. You'll notice that there is a plus right there, indicates a positive, and the negative terminal, and there is a negative sign to represent the negative. So let's go and get started. Now I also have an N95 mask, and you're probably wondering, what does an N95 mask have to do with this? Well, I don't have tissue right now, so I'm going to use this N95 mask because this is all I have. You'll want to use some tissue or cloth to wipe down the terminals before you put the new battery on. It's also recommended that you use a wire brush. That'd be the best option to do to clean off the terminals. But because I don't have a wire brush and I just have this is what I'm going to use. So I'm going to go ahead and put on the wrench right here. I'm going to go ahead and put the wrench on. So I'm going to go ahead and get the half or the 10 millimeter. See this? It says 10 millimeter right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and snap this on. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on like that. Snapped on. So now I have this. It's ready. I'm just going to set this to the side. And then I am going to come over here and I'm going to get the battery ready to be replaced. So this is the old battery right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get this. Make sure your vehicle's off. I'm going to pull this up right here. This is the protective cap over here. Do not throw this away. Just put this to the side. So I have that to the side. And then what I'm going to do is, if there's a lot of corrosion over here, you'll want to use a wire brush. But because I don't have it, I'm going to use this. I'm just going to clean it off a little bit just so the wrench doesn't have any problem getting in there. And then I'm going to take the wrench and make sure it's going the proper way. So we want to go counterclockwise in order to remove this nut right here. So I'm going to adjust it. So right now it has it turning so where it can go clockwise. That's putting on. I'm just going to take this and then go like that. So now I have that. I'm just going to go ahead and place this on this right here. Or not that. Place it on this one down here. Get down in there. And then I am going to unscrew this. Let me remove this. Now it's important that you take off the negative first when doing this. So remember, this one is the positive. Shows the positive on this side. And this is the negative. But when I'm putting the battery in, I'll connect the positive first and then the negative. So I'm going to go ahead and take this and press it down there, get it on there nicely. And then I'm going to keep my finger like this to loosen it up. Now, once it gets loosened up, you could probably go ahead and take your finger and just go ahead and unscrew that. Let me get in closer so you can see that. I'm just going to go ahead and unscrew this right here. And you just want to loosen it up. You don't want to take it off all the way. It's no need to. All this does, you want to do is loosen it up. And so once it's loosened up, you could just take your hand right here, wiggle it, and it pulls up just like that. You see that? So now I've taken off the negative terminal. And now I'm going to switch over here, and I'm going to take off the positive terminal. Remember, you take off the negative first, and then the positive. And so I'm just going to loosen this up right here, and this should come off the same way. I'm going to take that, put it down, loosen it up. Now you don't unscrew it all the way, you just have to loosen it up. You use your hand right here. If there's corrosion and grease on it, you can probably use your napkin. Just get that off so you don't get so much in your hand. Ease up the job. Loosen it up. It's loose, and then just go ahead and pull this off. All right, so it's loosened up. Make sure you don't unscrew it all the way because you'll lose these and you'll have a lot of problems, okay? And once you've done that, there's a mechanism that keeps the battery locked in, okay? That is this right here. You'll have to take this off by loosening this right up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this. It's like a grounding wire. I'm going to put this on here. It should be around the same size. Loosen it up. So I'm just going to keep on loosening this up. And just pull that off. Okay. So yeah, so I just pulled this off right here, and it gives me access to this right here. And so if this is not long enough, you'll probably try to have to access a tool that can get down there. Okay. So once I've taken that off, I'm just going to take this wrench right here. It's also 10 millimeter right here, you can see that. And I'm going to loosen this up. Go ahead and loosen that up. Bring it up high enough. And the reason why I'm using this one right here is because my socket wrench doesn't have a deep enough well to get to the nut without tapping the screw part. So I'm going to go ahead and loosen this up. Like that. And once it gets loosened up, you could probably just use your fingers to unscrew it, unless you don't work out. So I'm going to unscrew this, just like that.
So unscrewing this one, right here.
You know, press down in here, it'll make it a little bit easier. It's kind of like spring-loaded. So I can just pull this one back. That means I don't have to unscrew this one. Just move that to the side like this. You're going to have to pull this battery out and be careful because they are heavy. Sits in the tray quite nicely. So once you have it in the tray, sitting nicely, go ahead and put the cover back on here. I'm going to go ahead and put this down right here. Actually, back this way. Oh, wrong way. Oh. Go ahead and put it back on here. So it sits flush like that. Make sure it's in place. Get this out of the way so it's not touching. We don't get any sparks or anything like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put these back into place. All right, so I have this bar. I'm just going to put the hook back in place to where it was. Hook in there. Clockwise. You want to make sure that this is nice and tight because you don't want the battery flopping around. You don't want it to come loose when you hit bumps. So you're going to make sure it's tight. You can screw this one down by hand more so, but really tighten this one up right here. Once you get in place, just make sure you tighten all of these up and make sure it's nice and secure so it doesn't pop out. All right, so make sure that this bracket is nice and tight. Now, once you have that in, you're going to first do the positive terminal first. So if there's corrosion on here, if you have a wire brush, make sure that you brush all of the corrosion off. And then what you're going to do is you're going to sit the positive terminal back on first, okay? So I'm going to take the positive terminal, place that on there, just slide it down, and just go ahead and screw this back in place. Make sure it's nice and secure. You don't want the terminal coming off. All right, so it's on there really nicely. And then you're going to go ahead and take the negative terminal. Remember, if you have a wire brush, go ahead and brush that off your shoulder. You see there's a little spark, but don't worry. It just means it's working. And then tighten this one back up as well. Try to screw it on with your finger if you're strong enough, just to get it nice and secure, and then use the wrench at the end. So I'm going to go and take this. Make sure it's nice and secure. All right, so once you have that on there, go ahead and put this cap, protective cap, over the positive terminal. Snap that into place. And then this grounding wire right here, just press that back on. And then once you have this on, the next thing you're going to want to do is go ahead and test the vehicle. You can test it by going back in your vehicle and just cranking up the engine and making sure that it turns on. This video is just my opinion. You should read your owner's manual and abide by what your owner's manual says on how to replace the battery in your particular vehicle. As a matter of fact, you should probably get a mechanic, licensed mechanic, to do it instead of you doing it yourself. Thanks a lot for watching.